That block of cheese sitting in your refrigerator right now might not be what you think it is. What you're slicing onto your neckabrud, melting into your gratin, serving at your midsummer celebration, could be produced by corporations hiding disturbing secrets about their production methods. For generations, Scandinavians have trusted familiar brand names without questioning what's really happening behind those iconic logos. But the cheese industry across Norway, Sweden, and Denmark has been concealing something troubling. And today we're exposing exactly which brands are selling you products with hidden controversies. We'll break down the corporate scandals, the controversial additives, the production shortcuts, and most importantly, what you should be buying instead. By the end of this investigation, you'll never look at the cheese counter the same way again. Let's start with a brand that's been deceiving Scandinavian families for generations. Number 7, Brunost, the beloved Norwegian brown cheese. That distinctive caramel-colored block, the sweet and tangy flavor, the nostalgic taste that's been part of Norwegian breakfasts for over 150 years. Brunost is so iconic that it's considered a national treasure, an essential part of Norway's gastronomic identity. Millions of Norwegians grew up with this cheese on their morning bread. But here's what most consumers don't realize. Brunost isn't actually cheese at all. According to the United States FDA and food classification standards worldwide, Brunost fails to meet the basic definition of cheese. Real cheese is made from milk that's been cultured, coagulated, and aged. Brunost is made from whey, the leftover byproduct of actual cheese-making boiled down with cream until the sugars caramelize. You're eating what's essentially a dairy byproduct marketed as cheese for over a century. The health concerns are significant. Norwegian daycare centers in multiple municipalities have actually banned Brunost from children's meals. Why? The sugar and fat content. Nutrition experts have publicly compared Brunost to milk chocolate, warning that it contains far too much sugar and fat to be considered a healthy food for young children. One nutrition official stated that since they serve snacks, they might as well offer something healthier than this sweet, fatty product. The main producer is Tine, Norway's massive dairy cooperative that controls approximately 90% of Norway's dairy market. This monopolistic position has led to serious problems. Remember the Norwegian butter crisis of 2011? Tine was blamed for exporting too much butter despite a looming domestic shortage, causing prices to skyrocket to the equivalent of $50 for a single pack of butter. Norwegians were literally smuggling butter across the Swedish border. But Tine's controversies go much deeper. In 2024 and 2025, the company faced massive consumer backlash over the Bover feed additive scandal. Tine began feeding cows a methane-reducing chemical called Bover, without clearly informing consumers. When they launched Climate Milk separately, sales collapsed. So what did they do? Reports indicate Tine stopped selling Climate Milk separately and simply mixed it with regular milk without telling anyone. Consumers were unknowingly purchasing milk from cows fed this controversial chemical. The chemical in question, 3-nitrooxypropanol, has raised serious concerns. Safety data sheets indicate it's suspected of damaging fertility and the unborn child. Over 100 Danish farmers reported their cows experiencing health problems after being fed Bovaer, with some cows collapsing. The Norwegian government eventually mandated a pause on Bovaer use, while investigations continue. Brunost consumption is declining dramatically. Tine admits 30% less brown cheese is consumed per person compared to 15 years ago. The company has announced restructuring, facility closures, and job losses. The product you're buying isn't traditional cheese. It's a sugar-laden dairy byproduct produced by a monopolistic corporation that has deceived consumers about controversial feed additives. Number 6, Jarlsberg, Norway's most famous cheese export. That distinctive mild, nutty flavor, with the characteristic large holes. Jarlsberg accounts for over 80% of Norwegian cheese exports and is sold in dozens of countries worldwide. The sophisticated packaging, the perception of authentic Norwegian quality, the premium prices consumers happily pay. But examine what's actually happening, and the Norwegian heritage becomes questionable. Here's what most consumers don't know. The Jarlsberg you're buying probably wasn't made in Norway at all. Tyne, which owns the Jarlsberg trademark, produces this cheese in Ohio, USA, and in Mogiley, Ireland. When Norwegian export subsidies ended, Tyne decided exporting from Norway would not be profitable. So they moved production overseas, while keeping the Norwegian branding. Consumer complaints have been devastating. Online forums are filled with longtime Jarlsberg lovers expressing shock at quality decline. One consumer described finding the cheese now tastes like a mushy Baby Bell, with the sweet, nutty edge completely gone. Others report squishy, wet, claggy texture that behaves more like engineered plastic than real cheese. The holes, once formed naturally by bacterial action, now appear as if mechanically created. Scientific studies have documented mold contamination as a quality problem in Jarlsberg production. Research published in food science journals found that Penicillium species were isolated from nearly 90% of Jarlsberg cheese samples from Norwegian factories. These molds produce mycotoxins, some of which can cause cancer. The researchers noted mold growth can occur during ripening and retail distribution. The minimum aging period is just 3 months. That short window means less flavor development and more reliance on bacterial cultures to create taste. When those cultures are produced identically across factories in different countries using different milk sources, the authenticity that once defined this cheese disappears. Tyne faces all the same controversies we discussed: the Bover scandal, the greenwashing accusations, the market manipulation. The company has been accused of misleading sustainability claims, while its methane emissions allegedly exceed those of some fossil fuel companies. Number 5. Havarti, Denmark's most popular cheese export. That creamy, buttery flavor with small, irregular holes. The perception of authentic Danish craftsmanship passed down through generations. Havarti appears on cheese platters worldwide, commanding premium prices. But investigate the reality, and that heritage becomes questionable. Less than half of world Havarti production actually happens in Denmark. Major producers include the United States, Canada, Germany, Spain, Finland, Poland, France, Australia, and New Zealand. The Danish multinational Arla Foods makes cheese for the American market in Wisconsin, using American milk. You're buying Danish cheese that was never anywhere near Denmark. The recipe has been fundamentally altered for mass production. Original Havarti differs from cream Havarti flooding supermarkets today. Cream Havarti uses high pasteurized milk, retaining whey proteins normally eliminated. This raises yields, but alters taste and texture. The remaining proteins cause problems during prolonged ripening, including off-taste and odd appearance, so cream Havarti ripens very little. You're getting a product engineered for production efficiency, not traditional quality. Arla Foods has become one of the most controversial dairy corporations in Scandinavia. In 2023, a Swedish court banned Arla from using net zero climate footprint in marketing, ruling their claims were misleading. The court determined consumers don't understand Arla's promise is based on climate compensation over 100 years. Arla faced a 1 million Swedish krona fine. Greenpeace Nordic filed formal legal complaints against Arla for greenwashing and deceptive climate reporting. A damning report titled Dairy Tales accused Arla of creating a sustainability fairy tale. The report found Arla fully meets just one of 9 relevant UN recommendations for credible net zero targets, while failing to comply with 3 entirely. Greenpeace estimates Arla's annual methane emissions at 13.4 million tons of CO2 equivalent, exceeding the entire agricultural methane output of the Netherlands. In 2006, Arla sparked controversy when it apologized to Saudi Arabia for Danish cartoons. Danish women's organizations and politicians called for a boycott, accusing Arla of prioritizing Middle Eastern sales over Danish values. The Bover scandal hit Arla hard. Consumer boycotts spread across the UK when trials were announced. Social media exploded with videos of consumers pouring milk down toilets and throwing Lurpak butter away. King Charles's farming advisor accused Arla of re-engineering the cow. Arla has also lobbied to abolish Sweden's unique law guaranteeing cows the right to graze outdoors during summer. Sweden is the only country with such a law, and Arla wants it eliminated. They market products as natural while trying to keep cows permanently indoors. Before we continue to number 4, I want to take a moment. If you've made it this far, you're clearly someone who cares about what goes into your food and the ethics behind the companies producing it. If you're finding value in this information, please consider subscribing and hitting the notification bell. It helps this content reach more people who deserve to know what they're actually buying. Number 4, Danbo, Denmark's national cheese. The mild, slightly acidic flavor with distinctive smear-ripened character. Danbo has been produced for over a century and received EU-protected geographical indication status in 2017. Sounds impressive. But examine the production reality and concerning patterns emerge. The Danish cheese industry is dominated by cooperatives to an extraordinary degree. Approximately 95% of production takes place within cooperative structures, primarily Arla Foods. This means virtually all Danbo comes from the same corporate system we've discussed, with all its greenwashing controversies and Bover scandals. Researchers have developed methods to accelerate Danbo ripening from a month to just days. While this sounds innovative, consider why manufacturers want faster ripening. The stated reasons include reducing costs, since ripening facilities are expensive. But researchers admitted traditional ripening carries the risk of mold growth producing various toxins, some causing cancer. Faster ripening means less opportunity for molds to grow. This admits traditional production has significant food safety challenges. Low-fat Danbo has documented quality problems. Scientific analysis confirms inferior quality compared to full-fat varieties, including firm texture, bland taste, and bitter aftertaste. Researchers found 50% more bitter peptides could be added to normal cheese before bitterness was noticed, indicating fat masks bitterness. When you buy reduced-fat Danbo, you're getting what scientific studies describe as inferior. Number 3, Danablu. Denmark's famous blue cheese, also known as Danish blue. That creamy texture with distinctive blue veining, the sharp flavor that's become one of the most popular imported blue cheeses in North America. Danablu appears on cheese platters worldwide and commands premium prices. But investigate the production, and the craftsmanship narrative crumbles. Danablu was essentially created as a copy of French Roquefort. In the 1920s, a Danish cheesemaker discovered he could replace traditional sheep's milk with cheaper, more abundant cow's milk. The result was easier and cheaper to mass produce. The innovation wasn't about quality, it was about economics. The dominant producer is Castello, acquired by Arla Foods in 2006. Every controversy surrounding Arla applies directly to Danablu. The greenwashing accusations, the Bovaer scandal, the court-ordered advertising bans, the Greenpeace complaints. When you buy Castello Danablu, you're supporting the same corporate structure facing these serious accusations. The ingredient list reveals industrial additives. Commercial Danablu contains lipase enzymes added to accelerate flavor development artificially. Traditional blue cheese develops complex flavors through extended aging. When manufacturers add lipase, they're creating artificial sharpness in weeks rather than months. You're getting laboratory-created tang instead of naturally developed complexity. The sodium content is concerning. Danablu contains approximately 3.2 grams of salt per 100 grams. Fat reaches 37 grams per 100 grams, with 23 grams saturated. While cheese is naturally high in fat, the combination with artificial acceleration raises questions about nutritional value proportionate to health impacts. Number 2, Västerbottenost, Sweden's most prestigious cheese. The so-called Emperor of Cheeses has been served at Nobel dinners and royal celebrations. It was designated Sweden's only official national cheese in 2022. The complex flavor with hints of truffle and umami, the granular crystalline texture, the minimum 14-month aging. Västerbottenost commands premium prices and enjoys cult status. But examine the reality, and disturbing patterns emerge. This cheese is banned in the United States because it contains sodium nitrate, a preservative prohibited in American cheese due to health concerns. The ingredient list reveals multiple preservatives including E202, E202 potassium sorbate, E235 natamycin, and E251 sodium nitrate. For cheese marketed as traditional and prestigious, the reliance on chemical preservatives contradicts the artisanal image. Sodium nitrate is particularly controversial. When consumed, nitrates can convert to nitrites, which can form nitrosamines, compounds linked to increased cancer risk. While amounts in cheese are relatively small, American regulators prohibit the additive entirely, while Swedish producers include it. The production monopoly creates problems. Västerbottenost can only legally be produced at a single dairy in Burtrask owned by Nordic. This creates artificial scarcity, driving prices to approximately double comparable aged cheeses. The company claims it can't be replicated elsewhere, citing mysterious factors. But monopolistic control means zero competition and zero pressure to reduce prices. Nordic used Bovaer starting in 2023 before discontinuing Climate Milk after consumer backlash. The Swedish Competition Authority blocked a proposed deal between Arla, Falköpings Mejeri, and Nordic that would have restricted competition, stating diminished competition always harms consumers. The chronic shortages are deliberately maintained. Demand exceeds supply, keeping prices artificially high. The company produces only around 2,000 tons annually, despite strong market demand. Rather than expanding, they maintain scarcity as marketing strategy. Number 1. Hushållsost. And here we are at the worst offender. Hushållsost, meaning household cheese, is the most consumed cheese in Sweden, with over 15,000 tons purchased annually. It appears on virtually every Swedish breakfast table. The perception of traditional craftsmanship, the mild, creamy flavor, the everyday accessibility. But investigate what's happened, and the deception becomes clear. Hushållsost lost its EU traditional specialty guaranteed protection in January 2023. This status had legally ensured production according to traditional methods and specifications. The protection's expiration means manufacturers can now produce and label cheese as Hushållsost without following traditional standards. The quality controls that once defined this cheese have evaporated. Without protected status, any producer anywhere can make cheese and call it Hushållsost. The traditional 60-day aging, specific milk requirements, production methods passed through generations, none are legally enforceable anymore. What you're buying might bear no resemblance to the original product. The dominant producers are the same controversial corporations we've discussed. Arla Foods and Nordic control the Swedish cheese market. Every scandal applies to Hushållsost you're buying. The familiar Swedish name masks the same corporate systems facing serious ethical and environmental accusations. The cheese is now wrapped in plastic film during aging, rather than traditional methods. This shift raises environmental concerns and affects flavor development. Traditional aging allowed cheese to breathe and develop character. Plastic-wrapped aging prioritizes shelf life over quality. Production has been industrialized to the point where regional variations have disappeared. Traditional Hushållsost varied by region. Modern production standardizes everything, eliminating authentic variety. Longtime consumers report it simply doesn't taste like it used to. So what have we learned? 7 of Scandinavia's most popular cheese brands connect to corporations facing serious allegations of greenwashing, controversial feed additives, consumer deception, market manipulation, and environmental destruction. Traditional packaging masks, industrial systems prioritizing profit over quality or transparency. The Bovaer scandal alone should give every consumer pause. Multiple major corporations fed cows controversial chemicals without clear disclosure, faced massive backlash, and in some cases blended affected products with regular ones without transparency. Reports of over 100 farms experiencing cow health problems, animals collapsing, and fertility concerns raised by safety data sheets. The greenwashing reaches systemic levels. Court-ordered bans on misleading climate claims, Greenpeace complaints across multiple countries, accusations of creating sustainability fairy tales, while lobbying against animal welfare laws. These companies have been accused of deceiving consumers, while emissions allegedly exceed those of major fossil fuel corporations. Market concentration is staggering. In Norway, Tine controls 90%. In Denmark, cooperatives dominated by Arla control 95%. In Sweden, a handful of corporations control virtually all manufacturing. This monopolistic control eliminates competition, enables price manipulation, and removes consumer choice. So what should you actually buy? Look for small independent dairies outside major cooperative systems. In Norway, Rørosmeieriet explicitly avoids controversial feed additives. In Sweden, smaller regional dairies maintain traditional methods. In Denmark, independent producers like Theis Dairy offer alternatives. Seek transparency about production methods and ingredients. If a company won't clearly state whether they use feed additives, how they age cheese, or where milk comes from, that silence speaks volumes. Real cheesemakers who care about quality are proud to share their methods. Consider aging periods. Traditionally aged cheeses develop complex flavors naturally. When companies accelerate ripening with enzymes and additives, they're prioritizing profit over quality. Look for minimum aging periods of several months. Read ingredient lists carefully. Real cheese requires only milk, salt, cultures, and enzymes. When you see preservatives, artificial colors, emulsifiers, or modified ingredients, you're buying industrial food products, not traditional cheese. Support producers committed to animal welfare. Sweden's unique law guaranteeing cows' summer grazing rights is under attack by major corporations. Companies supporting this law deserve your support over those lobbying for industrial intensification. The Scandinavian cheese industry has spent decades training consumers to accept industrial products as traditional food. Heritage packaging masks, modern systems prioritizing shareholders over consumers. The good news is, alternatives exist. You just need to know what to look for. Your health deserves better than controversy-laden corporate cheese products. Your family deserves real food made with honest methods by producers who care about quality. The choice is yours, but now you can make it with full knowledge of what's really happening behind those familiar packages. Thanks for watching. If this investigation opened your eyes, please share it with someone who deserves to know and always read the label.